Dane Brugler dropped his 7-round mock draft, every pick in the draft this morning, and we got him on the podcast to talk through some of his picks for the Titans, maybe some Titans draft strategy opinions that he has. Plus, we're going to hit on Cam Ward's Fortnite livestream. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Broadway Sports Media in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. Justin, last night, Titans Twitter was buzzing because Cam Ward decided to stream himself live on Fortnite, and he said a lot of really funny, interesting things. He then proceeded to delete the live stream before I had a chance to watch it, but I did see a ton of clips that were floating around on Twitter. And I think we should hit on it briefly before we bring Dane on because it was extremely, everyone was tweeting about it.
Yeah, we'll be short. It was absolutely hilarious, right? Like, I think it's pretty clear he knows he's going to the Titans at number one. That's really my only takeaway.
Yeah.
To summarize, when he was asked who are the best coaches in the NFL, he named Brian Callahan first. And I would say strategically, you know who number two was? And I saw it coming. Kevin Stefanski. And number three was Brian Daboll. Just in case the Titans pass and he goes number two or number three overall. The other two coaches he named are also picking in the top 10. I think he went with Pete Carroll and Aaron Glenn, who owned 6th and 7th overall, the Raiders and the Jets. They asked him for his top 4 receivers in the NFL. He named Calvin Ridley. He named Treylon Burks as the 4th. I don't know if Treylon Burks' family has Treylon Burks as a top 4 receiver in the NFL. I mean, I think, was Quandre Diggs on the stream with him? Like, Quandre Diggs called him out about that one.
Quandre Diggs hopped on towards the end and was like, bro, what are you doing? Get off. Like, get off this live stream. You're saying too much crazy shit. Like, you can't do this right now. And I'm sure somebody, whether it was Quandre or his agent or his family, somebody called Cam Ward as soon as
someone from the Titans was like, you got to
get this thing off the internet. Because, again, he deleted it so quickly. He also said his top 2 running backs in the NFL were Tony Pollard, which, like, okay, it's with the theme. And his second favorite running back was Tajay Spears, who's not even the best running back on his own team. He also said that he would take Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat over Max Crosby and Jalen Carter, which was a funny comment as well. So, really good stuff from Cam Ward. He was really funny. Like, I think my biggest takeaway was not just the stuff he was saying, but the way he was saying it. And then he started playing with guys that were wearing Titans number 1 jerseys and like calling them Titans jersey, get over here. Oh yeah, hell yeah, Titans jersey. Like, it was pretty hilarious.
Aside, it was innocent enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's a big deal in the grand. It's not, if he's getting on there and he's cursing, left and right, or he's he's drinking, or, you know what I mean? Just something stupid that you don't want to put.
Yeah. Or even
online.
Just like talking shit about certain players or certain things. Like, I think,
right.
Like, yeah,
it was innocent.
I think if I was Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi and I'm sitting there like seeing these clips on Twitter, I'm thinking to myself, like, I wish he wasn't doing this. Roger Goodell especially is like, oh, stop blowing the drama. But I also think that there's things you can take away from this that are like, they remind you why he is your guy. It's like, this guy's going to bat for guys that aren't even his teammates yet and calling them top 4 players in the NFL. Like, this is a guy that's already lifting up his teammates and supporting them. He also said, we got Snead on defense. Like, he used the term we when he was talking about L'Jarius Snead being on the Titans defense. So
one point he said, I'm not on the team yet. I think I saw pointed out on Twitter as well. So yeah, keeping it short, main takeaway is he knows he's going number 1 overall, and the live stream was hilarious.
And I like his personality a lot as the future quarterback of the team that we're going to be covering. So, yes, really good stuff from Cam Ward. I'm drinking to that, Justin. I'm not going to hit it. I'm drinking to that. I'm drinking to Cam Ward, basically telling the world that it is true. It is confirmed, essentially, that he will be the number 1 pick in the draft. I'll drink to that, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. Their knowledgeable staff is proud to help you with large parties, themed events, or special occasions. No matter the occasion, Sinkers Beverages has the right drink. So check out sinkersbeverages.com to join the in-crowd, or follow the link in this podcast description. In-crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. All right, Justin, let's do it. Let's welcome in our guests now. We're thrilled to be joined by Dane Brugler, NFL draft analyst for The Athletic. Dane has a 7-round mock draft that came out this morning. We're We're going to ask a couple questions about it, but we're not going to spoil it either. You got to go check it out at The Athletic. Dane, thanks for joining us. How's it going?
It's going well. We're almost a week away from the draft, and so feel good about where we're at. The beast is out. I like you said, the 7 round mock just came out this morning, so a lot of good content out there. We're 8 days away, but it still
Yeah.
feels like we're trying to piece together this first round, which is both frustrating yet exciting. The fact that we're gonna probably go into Thursday next Thursday with a lot of different scenarios about how this could play out is going to be, I think, a lot of fun. And that's kind of what the draft's all about, is just kind of enjoy in real time how this thing plays out. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
No doubt. Dane, the beast is out now, as you mentioned, really the most comprehensive draft guide on the market. How long does it take you to put something like that together? Just a fun question that came to my mind. Every prospect in the country feels like it's covered in some manner. So did it take you a whole year almost, I bet?
Yeah, I mean, it really is a year-round project, and I mean more than a year, because even now I'm still chipping away at players for 2026. So, it's a year-round project, something that takes a lot of time. And, as Justin, you do a lot of these interviews, you talk to a lot of these guys. Like, we're always trying to find out the little draft nuggets, the interesting facts about these guys. The goal is to cover everybody in the guide. So when they're drafted, fans can go to that player's report in the Beast and find out a little bit more about them, the testing information, their report, their background, all that good stuff. So yeah, if you're a diehard fan or just a casual draft fan, I promise you, if you have the Beast by your side now and then during draft weekend, you'll be all set. It'll be a one-stop shop.
Yeah, you'll be well covered. Make sure you guys keep it handy. Dane, I'm going to start with one of the hard hitting ones that I've got that I'm curious about, that I know Titans fans are very curious about. In your initial big board and mock draft updates, I'm going way back, I think before the Senior Bowl, even when you first started releasing a couple of those. This being a weaker quarterback class was a pretty consistent theme in some of those early pieces that you had put out. And in one of them specifically, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I believe you had mentioned, there wasn't really a first overall type quarterback, but that quarterback desperation, I believe those were the exact terms you used, was a real thing. Fast forward now, and it's a foregone conclusion that Cam Ward is going number one overall to the Tennessee Titans. How much of that do you think is Cam, impressing them throughout the pre-draft process, which is certainly the vibe that they're putting out there? And how much of it is it the quarterback desperation getting the better of them? I believe he's ranked 13th in the Beast in your final update. So which one of it do you think really kind of drove the decision here?
I do think it's a little bit of both. You when you have the number one overall pick, you kind of just have to cross your fingers that it's in a year where there's a quarterback. Last year we had three at the top, and I think all of those three quarterbacks, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, would be the number one overall pick this year. But I think, obviously you have to take what the draft gives you. And this year, if I needed a quarterback in the top 10 this year, I would roll the dice on Cam Ward. I totally get it. There's definitely a path where he's going to become a top 12 to 14 quarterback in the NFL, and that's the goal. The goal is not to find a next Pat Mahomes. Like, that's just not realistic. But if you feel like you have a guy that could be a top 12 to 14 quarterback, help you win a division, help you get to the playoffs, that is the goal. And I think with Cam Ward, it's not a huge leap to get there. You see the way he's gotten better every year. You see the talent. Is he a fully polished player? Not quite yet. But when you look at where the Titans are, with a first-year general manager, second-year head coach, I think going back to the combine, we weren't quite sure what that meant in terms of how would they go quarterback that early, or would they take a haul of picks, build the roster, and then look to address the quarterback next year, year after that. But this is a league where if you don't have your quarterback, you're in trouble, and there's no guarantee that they'd be in a better position next year to draft a quarterback.
Right.
So I certainly understand where they are right now. You think, okay, what's our avenue to a quarterback? you don't want to be stuck with, say the Steelers, for example, the Giants, where they are, where they would love to have the number one overall pick this year and draft a guy like Cam Ward and have the quarterback position set. So Titans sticking and picking at one with Ward, totally understand it, totally get that line of thinking.
Yeah, we on this podcast have been, at least I have been, pining for Cam Ward since about that time when the trade down was the sort of the consensus thought. But now it does seem, especially after his Fortnite live stream last night, that he is going to be the Titans quarterback. I'm looking at your 7-round mock, Dane, and with this second round pick at 35 overall, you have the Titans taking Luther Burden. Now, we did a wide receiver breakdown about a week ago, and I told our audience I'm not very high on Luther Burden. I have a lot of concerns about how he's going to translate to the NFL. Some of his, production profile, especially the 2023 season, is a little scary. I'm wondering, because you have Burden as your wide receiver 3, according to the Beast. Can you tell me what I'm missing on this guy?
Well, no, and I think, your concerns, and he was, I think he's like, 27 overall or something on my top 100. So, even though he is receiver 3, it's not like I still view him as like a top 10 guy or anything like that. He is a late 1, early 2 for me. I think when you look at the 2023 tape, the 2024 tape, obviously you want to see the production that he put up as a sophomore, but this is still a really talented player. And you feel like, all right, what he's shown in the past and what you feel like he can be as he continues to grow and develop, the talent's there. It's just a matter of, okay, can he polish up the routes? Can you get a more consistency as from a full route tree, from being a full-time receiver, both slot and on the outside? The talent's there. And so it's just, you have to get him the rest of the way. And that's where coaching and developing comes in. So to get a potential first-round receiver in the second round, to me, I like that route if they went that way. Now, if they went with a more polished receiver, maybe you're not getting the same upside as you would with a Luther Burden. So, I think there's a little bit of a trade-off there where, it's a little bit of a bet, a little bit of a, leap of faith that you can get him to the rest of the way. But I'm going to bet on the talent. And I think what he does after the catch is a big part of what he turns into a running back with the ball in his hands. But there's also, like, he can win downfield. There's different elements of his game that certainly understand the concerns. But if he lasts to the second round, I think that there's enough there that you're going to roll the dice and see where he ends up being a year from now, 2 years from now.
Yeah, when you talk about maybe a more polished player who doesn't have quite as high of a ceiling, my mind goes to Kyle Williams, who's one of my favorite sort of day 2 guys in this class. I've said I don't think 35 for the Titans would be too early to take Kyle Williams, just because I think his ability to get off the line of scrimmage, his release package, and ability to beat man coverage is something that will help him contribute right away, where the Titans receivers, maybe he doesn't have the ceiling that Burden has, but the Titans need somebody that can start in this offense from day one. Am I off on Kyle Williams there? I know you have him as your wide receiver 12, and I think you have him going in the third round, quite a bit after pick 35. So maybe what are some of your concerns with Kyle Williams going that high?
Oh, well, he's a little bit undersized. I mean, he's under 5'11", 190 pounds. I really wish we could have seen a little bit more of him at the combine and the pro day. He hurt his hamstring. He ran a great 4.40, but then hurt his hamstring, out the rest of the combine. Didn't have a pro day because of that injury. So just feeling better about the injury is something that is going to be important. And that's part of why I think he's been on, just racking up the frequent flyer miles, like the last
over 9 visits, I think.
Yeah. And that speaks to the interest. But I do think like 30 visits represent interest more so than we love the guy. You're trying to figure him out. And that's why teams invite players on 30 visits, because you like the player, there's something there, but we're not all the way there yet. And hopefully this visit helps clear things up for us in terms of, all right, yeah, definitely a guy we would take on day 2, or maybe we cross him off the list. So a little bit undersized, but to your point, he can get off press because he is so quick at the line of scrimmage. And he was the toughest guy to cover during Senior Bowl week down there in Mobile. I'd say him and Jalen Knoll, those two guys were awesome during that week. And I think that really helped during the season, he had a productive year. I think 15 touchdowns, really good year. But Washington State kind of playing in that kind of stuck in the Mountain West / Pac-12. Like there weren't a lot of eyes on him necessarily. So the Senior Bowl, I think, really helped raise that profile. But yeah, I think he's going to go somewhere on day two. And if it ends up being 35, that'd be a lot earlier than I expected. But I get it because if he is able to be consistent with the way he played down in the Senior Bowl, I mean, you're getting a good player that can play inside, outside. And to your point, someone that can help pretty quickly, which is what you need when we talk about having a rookie quarterback and someone that is going to help, someone that's going to help the quarterback position develop.
Right.
Of course, there are the interesting connections as well. Kyle Williams played with Cam Ward at Washington State in 2023. And one of the most ironic connections is when he was at UNLV, his offensive coordinator was current Titans offensive coordinator Nick Holtz. So by the way, they brought in Burden and Williams on pre-draft 30 visits. So it's interesting that they're taking a look at both. Dane, shifting to the edge spot, I believe there are 17 edges in your top 100, according to the Beast. Really speaks to the depth of the position. I know you've got them going Burden at 35, but it's going to be receiver or edge rusher. And unfortunately, the Titans need multiple at both positions. If they do go edge at 35, who do you think some of those best options will be?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many go in the first round. Obviously, I think, Abdul Carter will be gone. Shamar Stewart, probably Mike Green, Mikael Williams, Ezaraku from Boston College, most likely. And then, who is left and who's at the top of their board in this early second? Could it be one of the Ohio State guys? James Pierce from Tennessee, does he fall out of the first round because of some of those character concerns? And is that a place where the Titans would feel comfortable drafting a high upside, but maybe a guy that you worry a little bit about, but you think, okay, if this hits, it's going to hit big time. So James Pierce could be a possibility there. Landon Jackson from Arkansas, big, long, a little bit stiff, but you know what? These guys end up playing 10 years in the league. When you're that long, you play with that type of motor. The production was there in college. So I think Landon Jackson could be in that conversation. Yeah, this is a pass rush class where I have issues with almost everyone. Really, after Abdul Carter, you can poke holes in all these guys, but there's enough in terms of just the volume of players that show promise and show hey, even if I'm not a full-time starter, going to be a Pro Bowler, I'm going to be a contributor. Someone's going to help impact the pass rush in some shape or form. And so even if, not having that third round pick is tough for the Titans because you can't, it'd be a lot easier to kind of have an idea of, okay, we need a receiver here and then get our edge early third and just have a better idea of who's going to be there. So the fact that they have to wait a little bit, that complicates things when you talk about which direction to go at in the early second round. But I think it just depends on how that first round plays out and who's available. If a guy like Luther Burden is there, it'd be tough to pass. But if a guy like James Pierce or Landon Jackson's there, it'd also be tough to pass. So I think it just depends how that first round plays out.
Yeah, because they're so desperate for help, immediate help at both spots. I was going to ask which you'd prioritize at 35, but with the 7th-round mock coming out, it seems like Burden would be a great choice there, knowing they're going Cam Ward at 1. Which spot, I guess, if they don't trade down from 35 and their next pick is at 103, unfortunately, which spot between receiver and edge do you think they are likelier to find a contributor? Knowing that those two positions, they tend to fly, especially edge, they tend to fly off the board earlier than 103. So which one do you think they're likelier to find a contributor?
Yeah, and I think that you could make a case for both just because even though there's more edge rushers, I think that'll go in the first 4 rounds than receivers. To your point, those guys are going to go because everyone needs more pass rush help. And this is a receiver class that isn't, I would say, super strong. It's a good class, but not a great class. So I think, in the mock draft, in the 4th round with their 2nd, 4th, I had him going Josiah Stewart from Michigan, undersized edge, but he doesn't play undersized when you watch him on film. I mean, physical with his hands. He's able to get that burst, that get off the line, builds up that momentum really quickly, so he can convert speed to power. He can win in different ways when he attacks the pocket. So he'd be an interesting fit there if he were to still last to that point. And the pro day didn't go great for him, so there's some teams believe he will fall out of the top 100 into the fourth round. So that becomes more of a consideration. But yeah, it's when you are drafting at 35 and you're trying to predict what's going to happen 2 rounds from now, like that does make it tough when you have to make a big leap of faith. And that's why I keep going back to just you draft the best player at 35. So you feel like you are not doing any guesswork. You're taking the best player on your board, whether it's a pass catcher or a pass rusher. And then you kind of have to cross your fingers a little bit to see who was going to fall to you. And, with 2 fourth-round picks, yeah, you don't want to give up those guys, but maybe you consider trading back into the late third with both those fourths to go get a pass rusher that maybe you really like, whether that's, Ashton Gelati from Louisville or Savion Jones from LSU, whoever that may be. If there's a pass rusher you really like and you just don't feel great about them falling to you in the fourth, be a little aggressive. Go get that pass rusher. Although I'm sure first-year general manager, Mike Borgazzi, he's gonna want all those picks because those are potential starters. Those are guys he can fill out the roster with the guys that he wants. So it would be a tough pill to swallow, but at the same time, they need pass rush bad.
Yeah, trade Will Levis, pick up a day 3 pick or a day 2 third-round pick, and you're off and rolling.
They're not getting a third-round pick for Will Levis.
Well, you're package one of your day 3s with him, and then you kind of move around.
I'll quickly add, Dane, you had the Titans, I think, getting Jared Ivey in the 7-round mock as well. I'm closing in on 200 prospect interviews. Jared Ivey might be one of the smartest players I've spoken to this cycle. I asked him about the positions he played at Ole Miss, and I think he gave me a 10-minute answer because he played every single one, and his ability to break down the roles what his assignment was. When I was playing 4-eye, I was doing this. When they had me out at wide 9, they kicked me inside. It was just so impressive. That guy is also going. You said it about Landon Jackson. That guy's going to play for 10 years as well, I think, due to the versatility and the football IQ.
Yeah, no doubt. And he was an all-state football player, basketball player coming out of high school, kind of a do-everything guy. Now, he didn't test very well, and that's going to be maybe the reason he would fall a little bit into the 4th round, 5th round. But I mean, I remember doing my during the season, putting together my top 50 board. Jared Ivey wasn't a guy that was going to get into the top 50, but he was a guy that it was at least on my initial list as, hey, he's got a chance to go day 2 because he kept making impact for that Ole Miss defensive line. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy at 6'6", 275. It didn't run great, 5.15 at the pro day, only 30.5-inch vert. So I think that might hurt him a little bit through the process. But yeah, trust the tape with this guy. He is just a really solid player, and even if he's not a down out consistent starter, he's going to play for a long time because he, like you said, the versatility. He can line up inside outside. He can give you those versatile snaps regardless of the scheme. So I think he's an easy sell. And if you look up and he's still on the board in that 4th round, 5th round, I don't think it's going to be a hard sell to say, hey, let's add this guy to our defensive line mix.
Well, Dane, we really appreciate your time here. Everyone, if you're not following him on Twitter, at DP Brugler, again, check out The Beast. Check out the 7-round mock draft that dropped this morning on The Athletic. Thanks a lot, Dane. Really appreciate your time.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks again to Dane for his time there. Man, that guy, maybe one of the hardest working people, maybe the hardest working person. I've said that about a few people this draft cycle that we've had on the pod, but definitely up there with the hardest working people covering the NFL draft. The Beast, he works on for over a year at a time. The 7-round mock draft. Who's mocking 7-round picks for not just for one team, but for every team? It's crazy. We really appreciate what Dane does.
Yeah, that might have been the best guest spot we've had this pre-draft cycle. I mean, not only from a notoriety perspective, but from an insight perspective. We hit on Cam Ward at number 1. We hit on receiver or edge at 35, which one they might be able to get at 103, the possibility of trading up, trading down. I think that was awesome. I hope you guys really love that. I think you will.
Yeah, and he's a little higher on
to get him on the day that he dropped the 7-round mock. I mean, just couldn't ask for better timing. Appreciate him for carving out time.
Absolutely. And even though he has Luther Burden a little higher than I do, I'll forgive him for that. And I will say, if the Titans drafted Luther Burden at 35, I just hope they have a plan. That's all I'm saying. I think he can. I've said it. I think he can be a good player in the right situation.
Well,
just don't ask him to do more than he can as a rookie, and like work him on slowly, bring in some of the college concepts that helped him succeed there. The same thing you would do for Cam Ward, the same thing they did for Joe Burrow. Like, I think there's definitely a path to that, and I'm just throwing it out there in case it happens. And I'm not, my only thing on the record isn't negative about him. That's why I'm saying this.
don't forget, if he comes into a receiver room that's got two top 4 receivers in Calvin Ridley and Traylon Burks, that it's going to be tough to come by playing time for him.
That's right. All right. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and turn on alerts so you get a notification when we drop a new video. Leave a comment below. What'd you think of Cam Ward's Fortnite stream? What'd you think of Dane's insight here today? Thanks again to Sinkers Beverages. We'll be back on Friday breaking down the Edge class, and then we got basically a pod every day next week. So we're really excited for draft coverage, and the draft is, like Dane said, only 8 days away. So we'll be back on Friday. Until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.